welcome you to this call on medicinal herbs. And your this session will be facilitated by me and Lottie Spady. So Lottie.
Yes, thank you for having me here today. I'm so glad to be here. It's myself and Dr. Jesse Brown. I'm going to tell you a little bit about Jesse. He is the visionary founder of the Detroit Holistic Center, which served over 60,000 individuals between 1987 to 2020. Now, he's focused more on the Holistic Training Institute, which is the educational wing of the Detroit Holistic Center, which happens to be the only African American owned state licensed naturopathic school in the United States. He offers a diverse curriculum in holistic health studies and modalities and helps students with personal growth and professional certifications. Dr. Brown has worked with individuals as amazing from Queen Afua to Dr. Layla Africa to Dr. Spady, and has a mission of a healer in every home. So I'm very glad to be sharing the spotlight and the day with you, Dr. Brown.
All right, and thank you, Lottie. And for those people who don't know Lottie Spady she is a community educator, a wellness media maker, and practicing herbalist. She's the founder of Earthseed Detroit, which is an educational community health program that is focused on imagining and co-creating the Afro future of our health through love, wellness, respect, and deep joy. Lottie currently teaches do-it-yourself community health classes and seasonal plant identification, herbal formulations in medicine making, and wild edible cooking. Other courses include herbs and tarot, plants and spiritual allies, and self-development through vision collage. She also holds sacred space for nature-based healing, retreat work, camping, glamping, outdoor education, and botanical studies in rural Michigan. And Lottie and I go back a minute. We go back for some years. We've been doing some great work together in community work. We have a very, I'll say, a compatible outlook in terms of community health and how we can serve. And so I'm thrilled to have her co-host this session with me as well. She's absolutely an herbalist of the highest caliber. Has been to Costa Rica. She's done some things that I would like to do. Okay, so and again, welcome all of you who are on Zoom and coming into the Zoom now and on Facebook Live. We are so excited. We've been talking about this. We talk for hours sometimes about this work. But when you find something that you really enjoy, really love to do, that you can be passionate about, it can last a career. It can last a good part of the lifetime. And I know my time with this work has been most of my life in the vast majority of my working years. So I'm glad to do this as well. So what we're going to do, in fact, we have a poll. So we're going to ask all of you who are in the room to take a part of this poll. Let's see. Make sure I relaunch this. And in the poll, it's basically going to give us an idea of who's in the room. And that's for of course, for the people who are in Zoom with us right now. We want to get an idea of who you are and what your background and interests, those types of things are. We're going to have one poll at the beginning, and we'll have one towards the end. And for those of you who stay towards the end and fill out the poll, we're going to have some special prizes. We're going to have some special incentives for you as well. All right. So we're going to
talk a little bit about medicinal herbs in the context of traditional and modern healthcare and just a brief history. So we're allowing folks some time to complete the poll, Jesse, right now? Or
well, they're gonna, if they can complete the poll as we go along, it's gonna take, yeah.
Okay, great.
Mm-hmm.
So One of the things that really excites me about herbal medicine is looking at the history of plants as our allies. Like once I really got deeply into studying herbs, it just sort of dawned on me like, wait a minute, plants were here, thousands and thousands of years before us, but somehow seem to be uniquely situated and constituted and made to support our health and well-being. It is such a fascinating relationship that we have with healing plants that, first of all, you have to think about folks weren't, yeah, there may have been some walking around and testing stuff like, oh, let me see, does this work? But no, you can tell that there had to be a fundamental, like spiritual and natural integration that helped us discern what herbs helped for what things. The plants truly communicate with us. And that relationship, like oftentimes African Americans and Black people all across the diaspora do not have a positive, may not have a positive relationship with nature for a variety of very real reasons. Our forced movements and placements in nature and agriculture have not been pleasant. But our relationship with these healing plants predates that oppressive, violent relationship. And this is a true way to tap through our DNA back into the true healing nature of the planet and the universe as it was designed to be. At least that's how I look at it. That gets me excited that we have this way to step back into a true, healthy, and positive space for our healing. And yes, it's becoming more and more popular now. So Jesse's going to shed a little bit of light on what's going on now, the global resurgence in remedies.
Yes. Well, as Lottie mentioned, the herbal studies and use of herbs and natural remedies goes back thousands of years to at least 1500 BC. In fact, in recorded history, and so of course it goes back beyond or precedes recorded history. But if you look to the Ebers, that's Ebers papyrus, you'll find in North Africa many of in the physician's tomb and in these writings, you'll find herbal remedies from castor oil to various methods to help people with their ailments at the time. In fact, some of those same remedies are being used today, and some of those same remedies have been researched and applied in today's pharmaceuticals, herbal applications, etc. Now what we're finding and what's fascinating about this as well is that as things have evolved, and at this particular period, and I've been watching this for more than 30 years, is that the resurgence in terms of natural information or natural healing is growing exponentially. So what was old is becoming new and being rediscovered. So I'll say in the natural products industry alone, there are approximately $300 billion in sales. Now, in health and wellness is even larger than that. But let's just look at this section where you see, for example, in the Whole Foods, in the Trader Joe's, and as well as a number of other mainstream stores, the vitamins, minerals, supplements, and in that whole segment, and those products that are available online. Just imagine $300 billion in sales. And that's projected to go to $400 billion as well, which means that people are participating more. And with the advent of COVID and so many conditions that medicine has not effectively addressed, people are looking for safe, natural ways to address their health concerns. Okay, I kind of put it into this sort of a formula or format that says people are looking for ways to solve problems, their health problems, in ways that also are the least invasive or at least harmful to the planet that are principled, profitable, and that we can pass along and be philanthropic with. Okay, so with this, and that means it's a win-win for everybody, because when you look at the pharmaceuticals and when you look at so many of the things that man has come up with as answers, it may address a problem, but it also may damage or do some other damage to the environment, to the plant, to the water, to the, you know, to something else, to some other, to our ecosystem. Or, the principle. We know that many of the drugs that have come on the market go on the market and come off the market because it was, perhaps there was a rush to judgment. They say, uh-oh, there's a problem. It's caused this environmental problem, or it's caused a number of different diseases. It's cancer causing. We got things that are going onto the soil and going in for the weeds that are, like glyphosate, which is destroying the environment. Okay, it may be eradicating weeds, but it's also causing cancer in people. So we want to find solutions that's good for people, good for the planet, good all the way around. It has very little or no downside. So that's a reason for the resurgence, is because one, people are looking for it. Two, it's necessary. Three, it makes sense to most people. Most people have given a choice between something that may resolve a symptom or a condition, but may cause long-term problems or death or damage the environment or animals and babies or future generations. People are going to make the better choice. So that's the way that we're going. So as we share today, and as we share through the Holistic Training Institute, and the philosophy or the mission is to train healers in every home, in every family, every community, every place of worship. When we do that, we believe that people, one, are going to make the better choices. Two, someone who knows you and loves you is going to take a different level of interest in terms of your care and your well-being. All of us will be caregivers. All of us will be cared for at different times in our lives, depending on how long we live as well. We'll be cared for as children. We may be cared for as adults. Okay. We tend to care for our elders and other people in the community. And the more we learn to do that, the more compassionate we'll be, the more understanding that we'll be, the less violent that we may be as well, and tolerant as people go through their different stages of life. So that's part of it. It's training healers in every home, and also realizing that when people are armed, when people have the good information, when they know about assessment, about the treatment protocols, about how to maintain health and what are we monitoring, then they can navigate through the system pretty darn well, and they can help to make better decisions in terms of their own care and the bodies that they're stewards to, and those that are in their care as well. So when we know what to eat, what not to eat, supplements, and the role of natural things, and the things that many of our parents, grandparents, and great grandparents did that helped us to survive over this time, then we'll be well armed, well prepared, and we can turn around many of the conditions, many of the situations that we find, many of the chronic diseases and conditions that are avoidable, and a result of diet and lifestyle primarily, and the choices that we make. Okay. So we thank you for, and those people who just entered the room, and we thank you for participating in the poll as well. And we're going to have a time that we're going to take some of your questions as well. We will share, have Lottie share some of the things, some of the most popular herbs, some of the things that you want to have in your, we call it your herbal medicine chest. Pretty much every home, every bathroom has its medicine chest. And I know that mine had certain things in it. It had castor oil, cod liver oil, Father John's 3 6s.
Ooh.
It had all types of things. Okay. Lottie, what did your parents or grandparents, what did they have in
You
there?
know, the same way, like my parents weren't into as many natural
Mhm.
remedies for a variety of reasons. That's a whole nother story. But ooh, that Fletcher's Castoria. Oh
Yeah.
man, I mean, anytime I would or X-Lax.
Yeah.
Because well, the principle was there, right, around good elimination, good
Yes.
hydration. Like the principles
Yes.
were there, but oh,
Yeah.
I will say, um, in my own raising of my own children, I leaned more toward a natural way. Like I didn't know a lot then. It was lots of Vicks vapor rub and
Hmm.
double up on some t-shirts.
Okay.
We had one sweatshirt. It was
Hmm.
called the Happy Shirt. It had an H on it. I think I just got it
Uh-huh.
from the thrift store. Had an
Okay.
H on it. And my kids were like, I need the Happy Shirt, you know, with some Vicks on their feet, some tea. We did a lot of apple cider vinegar and for sore throat, like for what could have turned into strep throat. I
Okay.
swear I saw apple cider vinegar and water as a gargle, alternating with salt water as a
Hmm.
gargle, as a great way to check a lot of that
Hmm.
for toothache pain and those teeth coming in, like holding a whole clove like
Hmm.
in your teeth, like because it is a great analgesic, so pain reliever. So it's
Okay.
great just to hold it in your teeth, like on that spot. It'll
Hmm.
really help to numb, and it's also antimicrobial and antibacterial. So
Hmm.
those are some of the things that I started to learn like along the way in my little baby herbal steps.
Okay. So there's a couple of key things you said, and that's one, the use of cloves. So and you can purchase this at the grocery store. In fact, there's
Mm-hmm.
a book that I've got called The Cure is in the Cupboard, and it talks about
Mm.
some of these things, some of the old remedies. So cloves is something that people can have and have all the time. And some, in fact, I think there's something in the poll as well, but practically everybody uses herbs, but they don't necessarily know that they're using herbs, or they're not necessarily using them medicinally per se. Okay. And so when we look at the garlic, when you look at the garlic and the onion and even some of the peppers, especially cayenne pepper and some of the hot peppers, many of those herbs were introduced into our diet not because of the flavor, just because of the flavor, but because they had medicinal benefits. Garlic is something that doesn't just keep away vampires, okay, but it's something, and there's interesting story behind that folklore as well. But for blood-borne conditions, natural antibiotic, antiseptic, So if you had garlic, when people did not have refrigeration, and many of the modern devices that we have today for food preservation, and people had to travel long distances. Okay, they had meager means. Then garlic was a way of preserving or dealing with the bacteria and those types of things that would otherwise make us sick. And if we didn't have access to, and many people who were um, poor, okay, didn't have much money or close access to doctors and facilities. What did we do? Well, we had to address it yourself. You had to you had to avoid people getting sick and having diarrhea. I mean, diarrhea could be deadly. A lot of the things that we address today that are routine that we routinely have remedies for could have taken you out years ago. Okay. So here's some of the things. So you also mentioned Castoria as well. So we got cloves. You also had talked about the a rinse that you can use, a gargle, apple cider vinegar, for example, is something that people would use. Nasal rinse for people who have, for respiratory concerns or conditions. The X-Lax was kind of an offshoot of the castor oil and those things that were there to clean us out. Typically, you did at least a spring and a summer clean out. Okay, clean out, flush out, or something. The castor oil was one way of doing that. Now, I've kind of adapted, and when I recommend castor oil a lot. In fact, castor oil goes back to the oil of the castor bean, goes back to the Everest papyrus, which goes back to at least 1500 BC. And it was also popularized by a man named Edgar Casey, who had a wide variety of applications for the castor oil pack. Castor oil, so I'm going to tell you folks, get it. You got to consider the source. Don't get it hexane free. Get it cold pressed, but you can take that castor oil, put it on flannel, and then put that flannel on the body, on the affected area. You can put it on your abdomen, your chest, your underneath your arms, your breasts. For those people who may have fibrocystic or benign lumps and things there, wherever you want to get something moved out, cleared out, where something might be stagnant, very good for, I'll say, lubricating and moving, getting those things moving. But it's the castor oil, it's flannel, cotton or wool flannel, and then putting some saran wrap or some plastic wrap over that, a towel, and then a heating pad, or letting the body's warmth hold that for about an hour a day. You do that 5 to 7 days out of the week. There's something that's going on. It will move a whole lot of things. So I still say use castor oil and have castor oil, but use it externally as opposed to internally. It's more gentle. It's easier for people to take and use, and it has a wide variety of applications. You can also use it on your painful joints. So it helps at least 3 systems: the digestive system, the immune system, and the nervous system. People who are having a hard time getting to sleep, it'll help them to ease into sleep. So, and there are a number of conditions that are impacted with the nervous system. Okay, calming, relaxing, and for a lot of people, I know it's magic. They'll say, okay, this is going to help me to get to sleep. It may very well help you to get to sleep as well. You may have to get rid of some of those other stimulants and other things that are going on, watching television, being on the phone, those types of things. But that's a great natural aid and something I would absolutely have in my herbal medicine chest. And then the seasonal cleansing: spring, summer, winter, fall. Guess what? We should be doing some targeted cleansing every season. In fact, one of my buddies, Dr. Elson Haas, said he had a book some years ago called Staying Healthy with the Seasons. And if you look at the different systems, if you look at traditional Chinese medicine, you look at Ayurveda, you look at Native American herbalism and such, there's typically things that happen around the seasons. As nature changes, we change. Okay. And so if we adapt and go with the flow as opposed to against the flow, we'll tend to be more in ease instead of dis-ease. Okay. Lottie, I'm handing it to you. It's something that.
Yeah, I'm glad that you mentioned the seasonality. I'll just add a little bit to that. Just again, thinking historically, winter was a time when we were having to eat a lot of dried meats, cured meats, things that we could find and preserve. So springtime, the bitters, the natural bitter herbs that come about in the spring, such as dandelion, burdock root, cleavers, plenty things that are great for like jump starting your digestive system. And if you think about the way that a meal is set up, that's one of the reasons why salads were the first course. Those digestive bitters, they get your body ready to digest food, and just like Dr. Brown was talking about with systems. So I just want to touch a little bit, like most of us know that so many of our chronic diseases come from our diet and can come from trauma that is experienced, emotional trauma, environmental harms, social unrest, the things that take root in our bodies. Now, 70% of the immune system is located in our gut. So where what else do we feel in our gut? Emotions. Our gut is the seat of our emotions. So it's really not a surprise, given the conditions that we live under, that Crohn's disease, ulcerative colitis, inflammatory bowel disease, irritable bowel syndrome, even just acid reflux, ulcers, just all the ways that our gut is trying to, fight and respond and is under attack by so many different things. So really taking the time, it's great that this is covered in the classes that are coming up, like how to really create a good gut biome, a good environment for your gut to stay healthy. Because like I said, 70% of the immune system is in the gut. The other thing I want to touch on briefly is the respiratory system, which, like we mentioned, traditional Chinese medicine, which I'm not well versed at, but I do know that in traditional Chinese medicine, the lungs are a place where grief is held, the ability to breathe. We talk lightly sometimes about meditation practices or Ayurvedic breathing practices, or like just taking a deep breath, being able to inhale and exhale deeply. That is a lot of times affected by our emotional well-being. Asthma, there is a lot of research that suggests that not only is asthma an environmental and social justice issue because of pollutants that are located in traditionally underserved areas, but also violence and the things that we are assaulted with every day that keep us from being able to breathe freely. So I want to do a little time check, but if I can share just a few herbs that I've used, like this is just a sample, like we're doing a real brief
Sure.
overview, but I just want to show you how my thinking around developing like an herbal protocol for asthma. And it's just going to be some slides. I'm going to share my screen if I can. It's always anxiety producing, right?
And we're good on time.
To hit
So
that
far,
share
so good.
button.
And
It's like, ah!
as you're setting this up, I want to thank all. We got 100% of our participants that filled out the initial survey. So I want to
Well, all
thank you for
right.
that, and we'll be reviewing the results of that in a little bit too. Okay.
Awesome.
All right.
So, in thinking about taking care of the respiratory system, I'm touching on a few different avenues here. One are the humble powerhouses that can be found right in our backyard or that are easy to grow in Michigan. Now, I know we have folks here from a variety of states and places, so I'm speaking of Michigan, but mullein is a fabulous respiratory herb. You can use mullein as a tincture, as a tea, and the dried leaves can be burned like incense, which will help take care of a cough. It helps with expectoration. It is actually healing to the respiratory system. If you are a smoker, add some mullein also, like either with the smoke or drinking the tea, because it is a protective healing herb for the respiratory system. New England aster is a plant that comes about in September in Michigan. And this is it's called a diaphoretic, which opens up your lungs and is great for that spasmy kind of quivery feeling that comes along with asthma. So these are two of our backyard medicinals that are very, readily available when working through a qualified herbalist or taking the classes. So that you got to know what you're harvesting.
Mhm.
But these are available at our fingertips every season. The next herb that I consider, so in the next way I think about it, these are supplemental herbs that are not grown in this bioregion. Now, there's a lot out there and it can get overwhelming, and everyone has their own way of deciding what herbs they're going to work with. I learned about Osha root, which is a wonderful respiratory herb, but it only grows in certain regions near New Mexico. And it's a bit, I want to say like endangered from over harvesting. We tend to like overdo stuff. So this I use sparingly, but it is a very worthwhile herb to add to a respiratory blend. But it's not, I would say it's not as readily available, but it is, something that we should know about. And the last thing I'm going to share are our additional support herbs. Remember, I said asthma or respiratory conditions can have an emotional component or a grief component. And even with your gut, you can have that butterflies in your stomach or feeling like when you get nervous, you're going to throw up. So these two particular herbs that are also backyard herbals, the linden tree and catnip, which I know drives cats crazy, but it actually is the opposite for humans. It is a nervine. So like Jesse said, healing to the nervous system. These are calming. They're not so sedative to where you're gonna, fall asleep at the wheel, or they are soothing, gentle support herbs that add another layer to your healing. Like, yes, we can treat symptomatically. We also want to treat long-term, how to heal the actual body system that is experiencing the challenge, and the emotional supports and even spiritual supports that need to go along with that for deep healing. So that's just one example of how we would go about, creating formulas for ourselves or for our families, or just, exploring a chronic condition and understanding that it's not just the symptoms. It's not, it's this whole process and history of the individual. Yeah, so that's what I think I have on that.
Excellent, excellent. Okay. So what we're saying is it's not just a product, it's a program or a protocol. A truly holistic model will take into account a number of things, and it will involve one, assessment. So when you get confused with all this information out there here saying, online in particular, saying, oh, someone says this is for this and this is for that, and people just kind of having a single approach to something. Oh, just do this. Oh, just take that. Well, guess what? Absent, if you take, and I say this about alkalinity as well, don't have an alkaline diet in an acidic lifestyle. Okay. Or don't just say, I'm going to take one herb. So many times people want a magic bullet per se, right? They want one thing. If I just take this one thing, well, guess what? You've got diet, you've got lifestyle, you've got your relationships. That is a holistic model. And that is, if you look at, again, the various healing systems around the world, you'll find that they look at a person's constitution, they look at their disposition. There are a variety of things. All foods are not good for everybody. So we would look at what foods to have, what foods to avoid. What is your work? What is your environment like? What is, are you doing things in nature? It's more complete than that. Okay. And so we want to get to lifestyles and better lifestyles, not death styles. What we've been practicing are death styles, those things that lead to us getting sicker sooner and dying earlier from preventable causes. Okay, so we do have some. We have a couple of some questions in there. Thank you, Lottie, for that part as well. So as Lottie mentioned, so in our training, in our education, and in fact, for those people who weren't on or may just need to hear this again, the holistic training is licensed by the state of Michigan. We're a state licensed proprietary school. We're unique in terms of what we share and do in many respects. And I would also like to think that we are part of our uniqueness is not just teaching about herbs and those things, but some things that are culturally relevant, things that come from our background, our experiences, and those things that we can reincorporate into our culture, into our society. It's more and more accepted. It's not getting to those people perhaps who need it the most. Okay, the our African Americans, other people of color, and many of the people in the community are experiencing higher levels of certain chronic diseases than other communities. And why would that be? Why would the strongest people that came from Africa and made it through the Great Miafa and and slavery and everything else, all these abuses, excel in sports, excel in all manners of sports and in physical contests and such, but also be amongst the most ill. Well, much of that are the choices, the difference in the diet, the lifestyle, and the supports around that. What's accepted? What do we do? You know, around the house, what do we do for entertainment? What are the practices that we have adopted, and what things have we left to the wayside? Sometimes we throw out the baby with the bathwater, as they say. So part of the training is going to be culturally appropriate. It's going to be culturally relevant, and really drilling down to address, for example, the circulatory problems that we have, many of the heart conditions and problems with circulation, diet and diabetes, being overweight, and some things that we can do to address that from a holistic perspective. Okay, foods, herbs, and other practices that will help us do that. And as we do that, so for example, I'm interested. I know someone asked about, in fact, a number of people in the poll asked about weight. Well, I'm going to kind of reiterate something that you might have heard me share it previously, but having a plant-based diet, we're finding more plant-based diet is key to our improving conditions overall. We find in places in the world and the people that have a primarily plant-based and less processed diet are do much better with not only their weight, but all the other conditions that go along with that, with the blood pressure, blood sugar, etc. That's part of it. Okay. I say it's plants, and I'm gonna say P. Okay, so what are we doing? Are we flushing? What the quality of the water that we have is critical to our health. If you knew what was in the water, especially the tap water, you'd want to do something about that. And then how much water that you take as well. I'm gonna say water, not just juice or anything that contains water. There's some people say, "Oh, okay, coffee that it has water. That's mostly water, or tea, or juices, whatever." There's no society that ever had juicing as a foundation of its diet, even though therapeutic juicing can be helpful. That's another discussion for another time. But again, flushing with water, and then the amount of fiber that we get as well. So we're eliminating. I call that the pooping part. Okay. So our digestive system if it's gonna be healthy, it's got to move regularly. There's a reason why there was a enema bag and the X-Lax and the castor oil and the castor oil and those types of things. There's a reason why that was in every household. Okay. In fact, some people died from what they call locked bowels. Okay. And then perspiration. Are we getting exercise? Are we perspiring? Now, in a state of nature, or as we many years ago in other generations, we were doing more physical work and labor than we're doing now. So if we're not doing that, if we have more sedentary lifestyle, how do we do work to the extent that we're perspiring and not just walking on the treadmill or walking down the street with our phone in our hand? Okay. So there's absolutely some things that we can do programmatically that will not just allow us to fit into a smaller casket by losing weight or getting surgery, but will also help to improve those numbers. And so I know some of you follow me, and some of you see my tips and see what's going on in my transition and over COVID. lost close to 40 pounds and have maintained it for about 4 years, since then as well. And I've worked with a lot of people as well. So again, what's culturally relevant? What are we facing? What's going on? What do we need to know and do so we can turn that corner? Training a healer in every home is almost like saying there's one in every family, and that used to be there's a crackhead. There's somebody you need to watch out for in every family. In this case, it may only start with one person in every family, in every community, in every place of worship, and that will help to influence others to do things that will be beneficial, where those things will catch on, and the culture will change, and it'll change for many people. The differences I've seen over more than 30 years and today, our community has changed a great deal, but we need to change more, and perhaps that'll start with you. Okay, so we are getting to that part, and I know people. So for those people who ask for about things that are, I'll say specific. I know there was a question about kidneys, um, and I'm sure that people have some conditions perhaps that they're dealing with that would actually qualify for a consultation, a little time to get to find out, to get an assessment, what's going on. Have you been diagnosed, and what's going on, what stage or something they're at. So instead of just saying, well, these herbs are for the kidneys and these herbs are for, for this, that, and the other, I encourage you to contact us. I'll say, if you send an email to support at Holistic Training Institute, if you got concerns about some things specifically that you're dealing with and you'd like a consultation on, and we will get with you on that as well. I'm going to do a couple things. One, I'm going to go over this herbal awareness poll, and again, I thank you all for participating. And there'll be an exit or a closing poll as well. Most of the people, let's see, I can even share this. Okay. So it's about 6 of you are beginning in terms of your knowledge of medicinal herbs. And that's not unusual, because guess what? We're not taught this in school, and we're not taught this in life for the most part. We have nature, we have these things all around us, and we're told they're weeds and not the medicine in the genius and benefit that is contained within. About 9 of you are intermediate, very good. And we encourage you to do even more, to 1, learn more, and then 2, be of service to your community and society. We absolutely need you, especially with the health disparities there are. So most 9 of you are using medicinal herbs for health and wellness, and 4 of you occasionally, and 1 person no, but they're interested. And hopefully after today, you will be incorporating some of these herbs as well. And by the way, I've got a bonus for you off the top, and that is, I've got a video. If you go to holistictraininginstitute.com and go to our website, you can get a free class, which is a top herbs that every home needs. And these are just my top herbs. And you study more, and you may have your top herbs, but these are 10 herbs that anybody could use, and it covers some herbs for the immune system and digestive system and circulation, those types of things. I kind of explain more of that, and there'll be more that'll be coming along with that. But that will give you a foundation on some things that you may very well incorporate into your herbal medicine chest or your herbal medicine cabinet there. And so at least a dozen of you are very interested in learning more, and weight loss is huge at any time of the year. And in any case, Weight loss is very important, is vitally important. Our health is somewhat measured by the weight or excess weight. Our body has to do a lot more work if we have excess weight. You'll find that you feel better emotionally and physically to drop some pounds. High blood pressure is prevalent in our community, and so you want to learn some things that help that, so we can break some of these generational habits. Some people would call it generational curses, but it's more what's in our GEANS than what's in our GENES. A lot of these things are not genetic. They're common because we're doing many of the same things. And the diabetes as well. Many of the people that we see, and many of the people we've seen through the center, have similar, have the same diet. We know during the holidays, guess what? Everybody's pretty much going to have the same foods. We got to break some of that so we can control our blood sugar and not buy a needle a or a pill. And then immune system support. A lot of people are interested in that. I know Lottie alluded to that. The gut, the digestive system, our immune system. What do we do? Again, any time of the year, because our likelihood of getting viruses, of succumbing to colds, flus, those types of things, is a reflection of our immune system. It's like our Army, Navy, Marine, Air Force, Special Forces. So there'll be special emphasis in the classes and what we share on that as well. And so quality, yeah, the quality and sourcing of herbal products is vitally important. And in the training and as we go along as well. So we'll have more calls for the public on this, more informational, more empowerment calls on this. There'll be information that will be shared through our newsletter called Holistic Health Matters. And so one of my team members will put up in the notes here, and then they have available online on how to register for that, so you can get the free newsletter. You text the word holistic to 22828, and there'll be tools, tips, techniques, and information that'll happen on a regular basis. So you understand that there's a difference between teas, fluid extracts, salves, creams, ointments, whether you use something externally, internally as well. And then, wow, practically everybody who filled out this survey knows someone who's experienced adverse reactions to drugs. Amazing. Now we don't know if that's you personally or someone, but guess what? Practically everybody has. Some people it's a discomfort or slight reaction all the way up to death. So over 150,000 people are dying a year from as a result of even prescription drugs properly prescribed. So just imagine all the numbers of people who have adverse reactions and have that don't lead to death, if that was included in the numbers as well. So people are interested in online courses, workshops, seminars, etc. Okay, and professional training. So we want to thank you for responding and for standing in for yourself, your friends, your family members, and in the community. And training healers in every home, in every family, in every community it takes all of us, means that collectively we may very well be able to do better than our traditional medical system. Not that we're not talking about dismantling that. And there's a role for medicine. There's a role, somebody for trauma. There's a role for trauma in many things that have gone way past what you can do naturally. But there's so much more that we can do that we would consider to be first aid, where we can help ourselves and our loved ones. Okay. So let's see, I'm taking a look in our chat here as well. So by way of an announcements and letting you know about something as well, and that is that there are a couple of classes that are coming up. They'll be facilitated by Lottie and I. And we call it Herbology 1 and Herbology 2. This is beginning level. This is, I'll say, beginning to kind of getting to some of the intermediate information on herbs. What are medicinal herbs? So that we'll cover in between the two classes about 50 herbs, identifying them. What are their properties? What are the body systems that they address? Okay, so you'll learn about the 9 or so body systems that we have, and um, and understand more of a systems approach to the herbal usage, not just saying there's an ailment and then here's the herb for it. Is it respiratory system, digestive system, immune system, nervous system, reproductive, etc. Understanding systems. You should walk away. You should have a greater understanding of your body, of yourself, of the systems, of the herbs that are already in your cabinet, the herbs that you may have purchased for different reasons, and what you need to invest in, the quality of it, and then how to prepare these as well. There's a big difference between a tea, like I have here, and a tincture or extract, a salve, an ointment, and many of these things you can make yourself. So you could actually save money and understand how to apply this, and you'll know how um, to about blends and choices that you have as well, especially when something is not life threatening. We catch it early. What they say, an ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure. We want to give you that ounce of prevention. We want you to be empowered to do more for yourself and your family. And I'm going to put I'm going to put a bonus in there as well, because Lottie and I were talking about this. This is new breaking. This is something that has never been done before. Okay. And that is the people who are enter in and take these courses coming up. And that starts on that's the 23rd and 24th of January. In this case, if you're seeing this at another time, there'll be other courses that'll be on holistictraininginstitute.com as well. But in this one, we're going to add an old-fashioned remedies section. Hot toddies. You probably heard of hot toddies, and some people may have experienced that. And what is a hot toddy? How do you make it? How is it beneficial? A flu buster. Medicinal mushrooms. Now we know there's some other ones, but we're talking about the medicinal mushrooms. What are the benefits? How do we take that and incorporate that into diet? Real ginger ale. The ginger ale, root beer, and many of the things that you see today, licorice, lemon candy, cherry candy, and cough drop, and those types of things. Many of these things that are adulterated today were originally true medicine. There was really ginger in ginger ale. Now, a lot of the ginger ales they have today, there's no ginger in that. When so it went from a medicinal drink to whatever. We had roots, sarsaparilla, and other things in there, and So how do you get back to the original medicine, the original concept, the original intention of these products as well? And then the castor oil packs. I'm going to go into greater detail on that in the application. Not just putting a little castor oil in your navel. I've heard it's some really interesting things that are out there, and so a lot of misinformation, disinformation, and things that people are picking up because people are looking for it. How to use onions, lemon, and the natural remedies, and how do we get back? Well, how do we get to the Garden of Eden and away from the Garden of Eden? Okay. How do we establish a holistic protocol for ourselves and our loved ones? How do we have a greater understanding of our children, our elders, and those people who are in our care? Okay. So that's the training healers in every home, in every family, in every community. And again, the one, you can get an email to support@holistictraininginstitute.com. And you can also reach out to us through, on Facebook. is the Jesse R. Brown page or the Holistic Training Institute page, WHOLISTIC Training Institute page, in holistictraininginstitute.com.